Dungeons and Dragons, the fantasy role-playing experience that became a cultural phenomenon, not only limited to pencil and paper, but also board games, books, a movie we never talk about, and of course, video games. Now, I never really got into the tabletop experience myself. That was more my dad's thing when he was growing up, and I hear it's making a comeback with the kids of today, but for me, no. Instead, I had games like Neverwinter Nights 2. I loved this game as a teenager. Don't get me wrong, I had no idea what I was doing. The Dungeons & Dragons rules are still sort of amorphous to me, but it was really fun coming up with characters, blasting monsters, casting spells, and trying to solve the mystery around the evil King of Shadows. Now, the game is hardly new. It's been around since 2006, so why bring it up now? Well, one, I want to revitalize the childhood favorite series because I have a lot of nostalgia for old games in my childhood. And two, I was playing a board game called Wrath of the Shardalon recently, which is Dungeons & Dragons based, and it got me thinking of Neverwinter Nights, and I checked for my old CDs, and they still work, and I'm like, okay, this is perfect. We've got to play the early stages of Neverwinter Nights 2 and just have some fun. It looks like the game's actually gone through a couple of updates since I last played in 2007. I played through the Mask of the Betrayer module, which was a really fun storyline, by the way. Highly recommend it. But it's also got the Storm of Zahir and the Mysteries of Westgate, too. No idea what that's all about, but that sounds kind of fun. Let's just start up a basic campaign, and we'll go through the early stages of the main storyline. Now, of course, the first thing you always have to do is create a new character. There are plenty of races to choose from, dwarves, elves, gnomes, etc. Looks like Tiefling is no longer an option. That's interesting. We're going to be playing as a Yuan-Ti Pureblood, which was introduced in one of those expansions I haven't played. I think these are humans that are descended of some sort of snake creature, so they can see in the dark and they're super ruthless and cunning. That sounds about perfect for me. And then, of course, we need to change the appearance, the height, skin color, blah, blah, blah. Good lord, I think I created Orochimaru's cousin. And then we need to choose our character class. Now, there are a lot of classes to choose from, and multi-classing is supported in this game, so if you want to play as a fighter monk or a sorcerer swashbuckler, you can do that, though obviously some builds are better than others. For me, I'm going to be playing as a Warlock. At this point, it's kind of my signature class. I really enjoy playing as the Warlock and summoning the eldritch demonic powers from beyond. Although I admit, it's not the best class in this game. It's a little weak, actually, but I have an idea for a build that might make it pretty good. Next, we have to choose our alignment. As a Warlock, we have to be either chaotic or evil, which is fun. So I think evil is non-negotiable. I'll definitely be an evil character. Let's go with neutral, because sometimes I can manipulate the law to my own ends, but sometimes I want to be able to flaunt it. So I'll be the best of both worlds. Now we choose a deity. There are a ton of gods in the pantheon to choose from. I don't really care about any of these, so I think we're going to go with no deity. Then we choose our stat lineup. Now, we don't have to just roll the dice and take the highest numbers and apply them to certain skills. In Neverwinter Nights, you get a certain number of points you can spend wherever you want. So I'm going to put most of my points, I think, in Charisma, because it's a very important skill for the Warlock. We'll do some in Strength as well, because I think I'm going to turn this into a melee build, believe it or not. We'll need some Dexterity for dodges, Constitution for health, and plenty of Intelligence as well, because I like skill points. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now let's choose our background, because there are a lot of steps to creating a character, if you can't tell. I'm going to be a bully, because I liked bullying other children. That sounds neutral evil. And then we have to choose our skills and feats. There are some pre-builds to try and make this a little bit easier, because this gets complicated, but I'll customize to show you what I'm talking about. Skills are where you place your points so you have better skill checks of various types, like sneaking or detecting traps or crafting armor, etc. We want lots of concentration and probably spell crafting and using magic items. Also, maybe some intimidation. I like to intimidate people. And then for feats, these are kind of special abilities or modifiers, like, let's say, armor proficiencies, or power attacks, or the ability to cast while wearing medium armor, those kinds of things. I'm going to go for Spellcasting Prodigy, which adds on the bonuses from my Charisma to my spellcasting, so I can be a little bit stronger at that. And then finally, we get to decide on our spells. Now, most classes get a lot more spells at the beginning of the game, like the wizard gets several. I only get one, but that's fine because I start with an ability called Eldritch Blast, which is a ranged touch ability, and I get unlimited casts of that per day, which is something that other classes don't get, so that's kind of nice. So for our other spells, I think we're going to choose Hideous Blow, and what this does is it takes my Eldritch Blast, which is usually a ranged attack, and I can instead channel it through my weapon, so I also do physical and magical damage whenever I hit somebody with a melee weapon. That seems pretty strong, and if we focus hard on this, I think we can make a pretty viable build. And last but not least, we can choose the name and backstory of our character. I'm just going to leave that as generic because it doesn't really matter too much. And we can also change our character's voice as they move around the map, which can be kind of fun. Some of them are exactly what you'd expect, like the male violent fighter. Attack! What a knucklehead. Or some of them are kind of funny, like the high-strung evangelist.
Attack! I say attack!
Hilarious, I love that one. I think we're gonna go for the sociopath, because I am a serpent. I'm cunning and I have no emotional connections to anyone. That's why I'm neutral evil.
I want to see suffering.
Finally, we have a character. That only took the first 5 minutes and an hour of my actual time, but it's kind of fun building characters. I enjoy it. Let's get started with the main story. So the premise here is that I am an orphaned adventurer in the village of West Harbor, and this is my foster father, Dagon.
Ah, my foster son is up and dressed, I see.
Now, Dagon and I don't have the absolute best of relationships, as you can probably tell by my wardrobe. I mean, really, look at this guy. Tell me he's not just begging for someone to save him. Dagon tells me that the Harvest Fair is going on in West Harbor and we should go out with our friends and compete. So I head outside and meet up with a couple of country bumpkins named Bevel and Amy. Two friends, I guess. I don't know. I don't really feel anything for them. But they're my teammates as we compete for the Harvest Cup, which is really just a glorified tutorial. It's a perfect opportunity for the village to come together and celebrate beating each other up, shooting bottles, casting magic, and teaching our children how to steal, because that's a good skill apparently. Now obviously we win the Harvest Cup because, I mean, come on, it's me, I'm the greatest, I'm the player. Everything goes my way. So we're awarded and I go to sleep happy, and then wake up hearing the sounds of my village being attacked, because there had to be conflict at some point. Amy and Bevel break into my house uninvited to wake me up from my beauty sleep. I gather my stuff and we try to leave, but lo and behold, a bunch of evil dwarves are attacking. Great opportunity to look, by the way, down at the bottom here. You can see that as we fight, it really is just the pencil and paper game. It's just all done automatically by the video game, which is how most RPGs actually work. It's just they kind of show you the roles and you can see some behind-the-scenes stuff. It's pretty cool. Heading outside, everything is awful. There are dwarves and bladelings all over the place attacking the village for reasons we don't really know. And they can't quite mount the militia, so that means it's my job to go and save everyone. Now, unfortunately, the Warlock is kind of weak at the beginning of the game. We don't really hit anything, and our spells are weak, and we're squishy as heck, so I may have died a few times. And to be honest, Amy's not that much better, but Bevel, being a warrior, man, he can just run in there and take all the hits. It's great to be a warrior in this game, seriously, it's so easy. Across the bridge and in the village, we spot our local mage, Tarmus, engaged in a magical duel with some sort of weird alien-looking thing. I have no idea what that is. Amy, the idiot that she is, decides that she can be of help and rushes in to fight, but gets blasted into little bits and dies. So I guess that's supposed to be my tragic motivation or something. I don't know, I didn't really care. In my quote-unquote grief, I spot an old childhood rival that I don't like that much, and I decide the best thing to do to make me feel better is to slit his throat. Which worked pretty well. Bevel didn't like it, but I'm like, I don't care, I'm evil, it's what I do. Oh look, another moss field, it must be my birthday. Slit throat. Bevel's like, what the crud are you doing? And I'm like, what part of neutral evil do you not understand? After rallying the village militia, we meet the enemy head-on in the fields, and there are a lot of them. I totally helped. I definitely didn't just sit there missing the entire time. Bevel definitely didn't do almost all of the work. It's a pretty tough fight, it looks hopeless, but then Dagon swoops in at the last minute and saves the day. Stealing my thunder, the jerk. Dagon tells us he thinks he may know what the enemy is looking for. There's a special artifact that he hid in some ruins many years ago when this village was attacked by the King of Shadows. So of course it falls on me and Bevel to go to the cave infested by lizard men and retrieve the artifact for safekeeping. We get there, we kill a whole lot of lizard people, I even pretend to be a prophet from their god. What we find in the end is a little silver shard. Doesn't seem like it's worth all the trouble, does it? Dagon tells us that there actually is a second shard that they retrieved many years ago, and it's with his brother in Neverwinter. So of course I have to then travel all the way to Neverwinter to try and figure out what the purpose of this shard might be and why the enemy is looking for it. Bevel, on the other hand, gets left behind. So long, sucker! I set out on my journey, hoping to misdirect the enemy and thinking I'm going straight for Neverwinter, when realistically I'm taking the long route because that makes for a better story. At a random swamp inn, I run into a dwarf named Khadgar. He loves to get into fights, like that's his thing. He just wants to fight everything.
You all can't be frightened of one little dwarf, can you?
Khadgar is honestly a pretty fun character. He's violent but charming, and for some reason, he wants to be a monk, so he's got a whole separate storyline for that. Anyways-y-hoo, so of course the enemy tracks us down to the inn and we have to bust some skulls. I rescue a merchant named Galen from certain death, and then I extort the innkeepers for extra gold. Khadgar decides, you know what, this guy gets into fights all the time, I should follow him around. And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever, I don't care, I'm a sociopath. Really, though, I was kind of ecstatic to have him along. A warlock always needs a good punching bag to take the hits. Leaving the inn and traveling to Fort Locke, I happen to stumble across the merchant Galen again, who is being robbed by his former mercenary bodyguards. Can I just, maybe, yep, I can totally kill you and take all your money for myself. Well, that sounds like the right thing to do. And what do you know, a little bit further down the road is a tiefling rogue named Nisha being harassed by some guards. Now, tieflings are half demon, so they've got a few physical features that people find unsettling, and they get unfairly targeted all the time. Not that I care, but I would like to have a rogue join my party so she can check all the traps for me. Nisha is a pretty decent character. I mean, she's very skillful at what she does, but she's got a really annoying voice, and she's super duper sarcastic and gets into fights with Khadgar all the time, which is fun, but also totally annoying. Now up in the fort, there's plenty of little side quests to do to get some extra experience, like helping some refugees and saving their comrades from some bandits, which I'll do, but of course only if they pay me because, I'm evil. I don't do anything out of the goodness of my heart, dang it. This is about the point where I started reevaluating my build, because up to this point, I had been a bit lackluster. Khadgar was pulling all of the weight, and I didn't like that too much. But then I realized, the Warlock kind of needs a little bit of a cheaty buff. So I downloaded a mod called Warlock Buddy, which helps make sure that my buffs are always turned on and they don't just expire all the time. So the ability to channel my Eldritch Blast through my weapon can stay on all the time, and I don't have to reset it every few seconds, which halved my DPS. All of a sudden, I find myself actually doing a pretty respectable amount of damage. Amazing what that can do. Now the best part is, some of you guys might say that's kind of cheating, but I say, I'm evil, so what do I care? Now that I'm actually doing a respectable amount of damage and the build is working as intended, we pick up the main quest to find the commander, who has mysteriously vanished from the fort. That, of course, requires traveling to a spooky graveyard, where the dead are rising amongst us. Fortunately, I found a fire mace, so now every time I hit the enemy, I am not only doing physical damage, but fire and magical damage as well. We're crushing it. Deep in the catacombs, it's super creepy and the dead are everywhere. Also a whole bunch of traps, which I'm really glad I have Nisha for, that's great. Except sometimes the AI of your characters are stupid, and they'll just go charging through traps to attack an enemy and then promptly die. A little annoying, but what can you do, it's an old game. We find out that there's a necromancer hiding in these catacombs because of course there is, and he's captured the commander and the rest of his crew. Sadly, the necromancer cannot join your party. That would have been awesome. Instead, we're forced to kill him and save the fort. But fortunately, I get rewarded, so it's not a total loss. We escort the commander back to the fort. The lieutenant's like, I'm taking charge now, you sucked and got captured. And I'm like, dude, I will smash all your skulls. And the other guards are like, nope, you know what? We want nothing to do with this. We're just going to arrest the lieutenant. Please let us live. And I'm like, all right, but only because I'm tired. Having sufficiently milked the fort for all it was worth, we continue on our journey toward Neverwinter, but we get ambushed by, you guessed it, more evil dwarves and bladelings. This time a mysterious druid intervenes, a character named Alani, who has apparently been stalking me for weeks, and I'm not really sure how I feel about that, but I'm glad to have her help. Alani and Nisha immediately do not get along, which is a great sign, but I'm very amused. And Alani then says she can take me to a shortcut through a druid circle, which can get me to Hillfort a little bit faster. I'm like, alright, that sounds good. But lo and behold, there's more problems because the druid circle is infested by crazy wild animals. Turns out one of those animals is actually a druid who shapeshifted into a giant bear, and after we beat him down a little bit, he starts talking about how nature's been corrupted and everything's going crazy and blah blah blah. I don't really know what's going on, it all sounds very tree-huggy to me, but Alani's distraught. Again, who cares though? I skin the bear and we move on. The port town of Highport is our final destination for this video, and we can't get on a boat to Neverwinter because lizard people are destroying ships on the way out, some sort of magical sabotage or something. Very frustrating. I'd love to get out of here, but I can't, so we're just going to have to end this video here because I've already been playing for 3 hours. The good news is, with the help of the Warlock Buddy mod, I am absolutely convinced that my character is extremely strong and has the potential to do an absolute ton of damage. So yeah, guys, that's a little taste of Neverwinter Nights 2, and hopefully you guys can see why I enjoyed it so much. It's a proper RPG. You'll roll your dice, you got your pencil and paper tabletop style, but it's all streamlined with a video game style UI and a pretty darn good story. And we're only barely scraping the iceberg, obviously. There are so many more acts and so many more characters that we would have to go through. I like this game a lot, and I think I might actually play it in my own spare time. But I just wanted to share with you guys today. Now, if this is a game you're interested in trying out for yourself, you actually can find it on GOG.com. Good Old Games. They sell it with all of the expansions, and it's not that expensive. So, if you're looking for an old-fashioned, really fun Dungeons & Dragons experience, I don't think I can recommend Neverwinter Nights 2 enough. It really is quite fun. Just watch out for the game-breaking technical glitches that I haven't mentioned up to this point, but I'm sure you'll be fine. Thank y'all for watching, hope you enjoyed. If so, then I would ask you to hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe. Let me know if you've played Neverwinter Nights yourself and what kind of character you enjoyed playing, because I'm kind of curious. And I will see you guys next time.